I'm Tom Harkin, retired United States Senator from the state of Iowa. I served for 40 years in the U.S. Congress, 10 in the U.S. House and 30 in the United States Senate. I think my upbringing had a lot to do with how I perceived economic and social justice in our society. I had an older brother who was deaf. I saw how he was discriminated against in his life, in education, in social interaction, in employment. I said if I could ever get in a position to do something about it, I was going to do something. Well, I was elected to office, and I was able to do something about it. So that's sort of guided me through my House and Senate career, fighting for human rights, fighting for better justice for people that maybe were discriminated against, but especially when it came to disability, remembering my brother. When I first came to the House, I first started working on disability issues, particularly deafness. But now here's Kelly, my nephew, can't even go across the street in his wheelchair. Can't go into a restaurant. So then I began to think, wow, there's more to disability than just deafness. And then I met a young man who had Down syndrome. Then I got to thinking, wait a minute, how about intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities? So all of these things started evolving in the 80s for me. And that's what led me then to become very much involved in a broad civil rights bill. And that's what became the Americans with Disabilities Act. I've often felt, even when we were developing the Americans with Disabilities Act, that people with disabilities needed to work. Not in a substandard job, not in a, quote, disability job, but in competitive integrated employment, where they work right alongside anybody else and make the same money and the same wages, the same benefits, fully integrated. There was a study done a few years ago that showed that companies that had people with disabilities oftentimes outperform. I am so enthused about what is now happening with human resources. The doors are opening. Now, more and more CEOs are beginning to figure it out, and they're letting HR do its real job, which is find the best qualified people, regardless of whether they are able, disabled, or whatever they are. Just find the most qualified people. And that is the fulfillment, to me, of Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act.